Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch MLB edition. I'm your host, Real_G Warner, joined by at A Brooks Bets. We are super hot. We didn't let the All-Star break change that. And as I pull up the records, which are very impressive, at A Brooks Bets on 8 straight wins, we are as a team 14-2. Our last 8 podcasts, we had some picks for the second half. We took some futures. Our last episode at A Brooks Bets gave the Royals not making the playoffs. I went with the Seattle Mariners not making the playoffs. Both seem to be trending in the direction that we were predicting. A lot of wins for the Royals since the break. A lot of really bad losses, including a just complete bullpen meltdown on Monday night from the Seattle Mariners. We're recording this Tuesday, July 23rd for the Wednesday, July 24th 9-game card that we have lines for right now at A Brooks Bets. How are you on this fine evening?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. Getting back in the swing of things after the All-Star break. Everybody gets rolling. There's only like 2 weeks to figure out if you're going to really contend or not. I know there's only 7 teams that are like 100% out and selling, but I bet there's going to be a little bit more than that this time next week, which is the trade deadline on July 30th coming up soon. So I think there's going to be a lot of movement, and I'm excited. Hopefully, it's a big one. It's almost like it's as exciting as like the opening round of the playoffs for me. It's like there's a whole new world available. It's kind of like another opening day for some of these contenders and players who add some serious value or just cash it in for the rest of the year and don't try anymore. It's always interesting to me. There's always some surprises.
A whole new world, dazzling place, something
Yeah.
like that, right? Isn't that how a new fantastic point of view, maybe? So we're going to offer some point of views, not necessarily on the Aladdin soundtrack, but instead we're going to potentially go through and actually tell us in our comments, leave a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, called Betting the Pitch, or at the Real_G Warner on YouTube, or reply to this wherever you see it with some ideas for our next episode, since it is the trade deadline when we're recording anyway on the 30th of July. We're debating just doing a trade deadline show and then throwing best bets end of show, or if you'd like us to continue as we do, go through every game that's lined like we will to tonight. Please let us know in the comments. 5-star reviews are huge for our search rankings, so thank you in advance for all that support. So we're going to go through the 9 games that are lined on this card for Wednesday, July 24th, and then see what overlaps we have at the end to try to fit in some more chatter before we get kicked off of Zoom. And don't forget, Eddie Brooks Bets is one of his last 8 best bets, going for 9. That'll be coming end of show, so stick around. We'll start with the Boston Red Sox visiting the Colorado Rockies. We'll go Nick Pivetta starting for the Red Sox at Cal Quantrill from the Colorado Rockies. Rockies a plus 150 home underdog. Total here is a large 10.5, but nowhere near as large as tonight's 11.5 close. You're a big Red Sox fan. That's where I grew up also supporting, but I've certainly lost my fanhood over the years. And especially if you look at my profitability on betting the Red Sox, it has not been very good over the last 5 or 6 years since I've been really tracking it seriously. What do we think about Nick Pivetta potentially going into the altitude? Because he's a big breaking ball guy that has certainly had consistency issues in his career.
Yeah, Coors is never friendly to any pitcher. I don't even know if style matters all that much, but it's not going to be pretty for either one of these, which is why I'm going to lean over the 10.5 here. The Red Sox need to beat up on these teams. They have not performed all that great since the All-Star break, and the Royals have. So I think there were 2 games in the wild card at the All-Star break, and now they're 2 games out of it. That can change really fast. So hopefully they get something rolling here. And the Rockies are a good spot to do it. I would lean over here just because I do think that anything can happen at Coors, and 10.5 doesn't seem like that much in Denver to me.
Yeah, we've seen totals come down a lot this year. I think none have felt the effect
Yeah.
more than Colorado or Denver-based games. We're seeing that kind of tick up a little bit. Weather's been hot. There's been some wildfires from Canada blowing into the air down south, I guess, as far as Denver, Colorado. Maybe that helps with how high they are in the Rockies, getting high in the Rockies. RIP Bill Walton. Big question for the Red Sox is their bullpen. They basically surrendered an entire series in Los Angeles, starting off the second half. Kenley Jansen did not make the trip to Colorado to preserve his heart muscle issues that he's had throughout his career. And Kyle Quantrill's been pretty good, though certainly that's a fleeting thing with any Colorado Rockies pitcher. To me, it feels like the Rockies at home are a really tough team because at least at this point in the season, everyone knows they're bad and everyone's expecting to go in there and win series. We saw on Monday night the Red Sox go back and forth for a million hours, it seemed, and lose in extra innings. I think over 10.5 is my interest in this one as well. It is a little bit concerning that it's getaway day. We might see some absentees from those lineups, but honestly, I don't even know how much it matters because we should see the lefties in there for the Red Sox as they've been platooning pretty heavily, not starting speed guys or Willie Abreu either because they're faced up against two lefties the first two games of this series. But I imagine the Red Sox are really hurting for a win here. We saw Alex Cora ejected Monday night. I'm with you though. I like over 10.5 in that first matchup that we're discussing. Next, we'll move to the Houston Astros and Hunter Brown starting at the Oakland Athletics and JP Sears. Brown a minus 150 favorite, returns 138 right now, bet online on the Oakland Athletics. Totals 8.5, choose very heavily to under. We might see this fall to 8, another getaway day type of scenario, though honestly, the ball does travel a little bit better during the day in Oakland as opposed to at night. Hunter Brown's been awesome after starting the year so poorly. JP Sears is in his type of park, though, where you can control, hopefully, some fly balls if you're rooting for the underdog here or the home team at all, or maybe under. What do you think about this one?
I mean, I know the Astros are on the road, but they've made up 10 games on the division leader in the last month and a half. I think they're the team everybody kind of thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year, which is a World Series favorite. One of the top 5 teams and the top 5 prices to pay to predict. So, yeah, Hunter Brown's been great and the Astros are good. JP Sears has not been good and the A's are not good. I mean, this price at minus 155. I don't see any reason to come down from that. So I'm going to go with the Astros.
So I like the Astros as their chances. Part of why I picked Seattle not to make the playoffs was basically just hinging on them not winning the division and their record not standing up to the rest, which I was certainly hoping the Red Sox would not lose every game since the All-Star break for that. But Sears, I think, is a good pitcher in this park only. Part of why the Yankees, I think, dealt him way back when or were so eager to. But big question here really is the Astros after a pretty big no-show on Monday night. And they do have some pressure here, kind of like Colorado. Any trip to Oakland, you're expecting to win that series and for a lot of pressure on that, especially when you fall flat in your face on Monday night. I do think Hunter Brown, who's basically figured out how to use his fastball, or maybe he's not throwing it as much as he was early in the season. He can use a lot of that territory. So I think I'm more interested in under 8.5 than back in the Oakland Athletics here. But that's probably my lean. Another getaway day. Hopefully some absentees in that lineup. I'm looking at you, Jose Altuve. Moving next to the Detroit Tigers, visiting the Cleveland Guardians. We got Jack Flaherty at Tanner Bybee. Currently Flaherty plus 132 underdog on the road, over under 7.5. Choose very heavily to under. Might see this fall to 7. Are you starting to see, based on the Guardians, I mean, no expectations for them coming into the season. And then I think they had the best record in the American League heading into the All-Star break. It has not been easy, though. The San Diego Padres came into town, and now they've got the Tigers, had to face Tarek Skubal in the opener of that series on Monday night. Flaherty's a great arm. Are you concerned about the Guardians right now? Because they're still a pretty hefty favorite to a great arm like Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I'm leaning Tigers here. Plus 132 seems like good value there. Jack Flaherty has an elite strikeout rate, especially for a starting pitcher. And I know the Guardians don't strike out very much. And I think they're number 1. I think they're the lowest strikeout percentage team. So that'll be an interesting little matchup there. Flaherty has been better than Bybee lately. Kind of, if you look at heads up in the last 50 or 100 plate appearances and their expected results. I'm just kind of going off recent form here. I think both are quality pitchers, but I like Flaherty in this price in this particular matchup.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it's such a big number. Cleveland certainly has a better bullpen, but that might really not matter. I mean, Bybee's got fastball issues. Jack Flaherty is basically who he was 3 seasons ago, it seems, in St. Louis when he was in the Cy Young Award candidacy. He's a big trade target, but if the Tigers keep winning, I mean, they won 2 out of 3 in Toronto, could have even won all 3 there, and then took the opener on Monday in Cleveland. So I really like what I've seen from them. I think this price is way too big. Love the Tigers here. And Cleveland Guardians currently 5th in strikeout rate, 5th lowest in the majors at 19.8%, at least the last time I looked at this. I think it was during the San Diego Cleveland series this weekend. San Diego, Houston, Kansas City, Toronto at 8 Brooks Betts favorite pick to finish in the bottom of the AL East. And then the Guardians at 19.8% strikeout rate are the lowest five in the majors. So those five all below 20% strikeouts. So not a great sign for the rest of Major League Baseball. We'll move next to the San Diego Padres, and they're visiting the Washington Nationals. Matt Waldron, the only knuckleballer in Major League Baseball, RIP Tim Wakefield. And the Nats are starting Mitchell Parker, who cannot field his position, should just get out of the way for any ground ball thrown or hit at his direction. Padres are minus 124 road favorite, which I think does reflect the amount of respect they were getting in Cleveland also this weekend. Small favorites on the road, or even small underdogs when they probably should have been bigger, which I fell in that trap at least once on Saturday. Over under here is 8.5. Choose all the way to over. We might see it move to 9 before first pitch is thrown. This doesn't look like a getaway day game starting at in the evening hours in Washington. What do you think about Waldron at Mitchell Parker?
Yeah, I was he only throws that. I was looking up that knuckleball. I knew he threw it, but he only throws it 39% of the time, which is kind of a weird number. I think Wakefield, speaking of him, threw it probably over 80%. He had a curveball and a fastball. I guess they'd mix in, but kind of a strange repertoire to only throw it 40% of the time. Then he throws a big sweeper and he throws a fastball 20% of the time. So I don't know. Interesting guy. Did a little deep dive on him today because, yeah, I didn't know that the knuckleballers were still kind of rolling around, and I wanted to see how he was doing it, and I wanted to try to find some edges on the weather or anything like that, and try to figure out how he's having some success, because he has been. He's okay. He's an above average pitcher, and then yeah, Mitchell Parker, he doesn't strike out very many hitters, and in this day and age, I don't really love those kind of arms. You have to get maybe a little bit lucky, or maybe a little bit, just be so precise if you're not going to blow stuff by guys. We see somebody like Paul Skeens who arrives on the scene, and if you have stuff like that, then you just kind of blow everybody away, and it's a lot easier every single night to predict. Now there are people like Greg Maddux who made a mastery of that, but he's kind of a robot alien person. I don't even really know to have the kind of stuff he had, and the control he had forever. This is a lefty who, he nibbles on the corners, and he doesn't have the greatest stuff, and he's got to control it perfectly. So in a scenario like this, I do like the Padres minus 125. I think that the Nationals have been profitable in the first half. I don't think they really will be. I'm trying to figure out a reason why they were. Maybe people thought they'd be a bottom 5 team, and they were only a bottom 10 team, that kind of thing. But I do like the Padres, even as a slight favorite on the road here.
Yeah, don't think Mitchell Parker will be confused for Paul Skeens. He throws with the wrong arm, and definitely none of the special accoutrement plus no Livy Dunn screaming on a hot mic apparently at the All-Star game either, unless she's two-timing, which would be breaking news on the Betting the Pitch podcast network right here if that was the case. I'm with you. So to answer your Nationals question, as I backed them a lot in the first half, I thought it was because of their bullpen. They were really good in close games, and they traded off one of their best bullpen arms, probably their best one, in Hunter Harvey, to the Kansas City Royals, who at 8 Bets has projected to qualify for the American League playoffs this year. And I think that's a big reason, shows that the Kansas City Royals are buying, and certainly it's a big arm to add, and a good one at that. Waldron, yeah, throws 40% or so knucklers, which is a very good pitch for him, but I think he needs to maybe even throw more, because his fastball can be hit. If you know the fastball is coming, which it's hard to, but if you know it's there, it can certainly get lined up. The Nats, to me, I don't know really what to do with them, because I don't love teams that are selling until it's like confirmed the deadline's gone, and then it's almost like a reshuffle of a deck, and you kind of, I think, grow from there essentially. But certainly not great for the organization's players to feel like they're being given up on by the front office such. I think the only way I'd want to go here is betting that home underdog. I'm pretty concerned. And when I've had experiences with Mitchell Parker, I can't forget him not being able to throw the ball to first base or catch ground balls right to him that have really hurt him and hurt the chances of the Nationals in those games. Plus, really, that bullpen, it's deep, but it's certainly missing a very, very important piece to it. Move next to the Bronx. We have the New York Mets visiting the New York Yankees. Big battle. Two teams that are kind of trying to figure out who they are, I think, as we head into the trade deadline. Looks like both will buy. Is that your expectation?
Yeah, I think they'll both buy. Very interested to see how aggressive they'll be, how much they'll give away. Yeah, the whole the whole experiment with Verlander and DeGrom and Scherzer didn't last very long for the Mets. So
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see if they kind of go after those veteran guys again, or if they like the team control option, which they have some young players. Each team does. Anyway, for this matchup, I think it might be time for me to stop fading Garrett Cole.
Let me give you the numbers here before you get into it. Cole minus
Okay.
163 favorite at home, totals 8.5.
Yeah, that might be a little too steep. I guess the world's thinking the way I am too. I did, there was a month in May, and it seems to happen more often than not, where the Yankees were the best team in baseball, and I was just getting all sad that they might run away with this thing because Cole wasn't even pitching yet. And he's come back, but he's had two quality starts in a row. They really need him down the stretch. We've got some Yankees friends. Yankees fans live in my area here too, and it's going to be up to their rotation. I mean, they have a rotation. They've paid a lot of money for players on the rotation with Stroman and Rodon and Cole, especially. It's like this better work for the Yankees because I don't know what else they can really do. Obviously, just go get more arms and go sell the farm system, and then just run into whatever tax issues that the later Steinbrenner has kind of not really done as much of as George did in the 90s and early 2000s, or really all the 2000s. But in general, well, I'm going to table this. I won't bet the Yankees at this price. I do think they're the better team than the Mets. I'm not going to bet them at minus 160 though, with Cole on the hill. I think we should look out though. Two quality starts in a row. He's off the IL for about a month and a half. He's got a good kind of sample size now. He'll be fine. He's a really good pitcher. I'll table this one, but lean Yankees.
He's thrown a lot of cutters, which I don't think has been his thing in the past. I wonder. I think until we see Garrett Cole just blowing fastballs by people, and maybe that's not him anymore. We'll see, of course. And I just feel like a four-seam fastball has to be the healthiest pitch to throw. Maybe it's about how much velocity he's doing or whatever, the stress on the elbow. I feel like throwing cutters and sliders is probably worse, but we'll see. I think the biggest issue here is how do you back Sean Manaea in such a small ballpark, not able to miss bats, and like basically I think has made his career throwing a high sinker, and that is clearly out and not in vogue anymore. So I think I like over 8.5, if anything, is a little bit of a still questioning Cole thing, but Manaea potentially having an ability to blow up. Problem is anything around the strike zone that's caught is a strike in today's baseball game. So that does certainly make me want to do less with overs, though certainly playing in a little league field just east of Williamsport feels like might be one of those other on the circuit. Makes me feel like there could be a lot of runs scored in this one. Move next to the Tampa Bay Rays, north of the border, visiting Toronto. Zach Eflin at Yadiel Rodriguez. Currently, Eflin a minus 113 road favorite, fresh off a bullpen game victory for the Rays. Total here is 8.5. Juices basically split both ways. You've been pretty early on the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't even know what we call it. I guess it'd be a funeral tour, maybe the way to call it.
Maybe.
Before we get into this game, do they trade Vladdy Guerrero?
That's the number one question, I think, going into this week.
He is
I
hot.
don't think they do. I mean, Bo
woo,
Bichette went
hot.
on the IL for several weeks. Vladdy Guerrero just today surpassed, I think, Aaron Judge. He's hit the most hard hit balls, which is an exit velocity of over 95 miles an hour. He's number one in the league. So his expected stats are great, obviously, when you hit the ball that hard that often. I mean, if they're going to sell, that's a great person to sell, right? They're going to have to totally start over. I don't see them doing it. I would guess that they don't trade him and they kind of try to just maybe sign a free agent. I mean, they were in on Shohei Ohtani, I think. Like maybe they were putting all their eggs in that basket, but it seems like they're not that far, although I have predicted their demise, and I do predict it to continue if they don't buy, which I don't think they'll really buy either. But anyway, I think the Rays are going to sell. I think the Red Sox, who knows, if they lose several more in a row, they might kind of think about selling a little bit, or at least standing pat, which I'm not a fan of. But hey, life will go on. Eflin, though, I did a deep dive on him too, because for years now he has not performed as well as his expected stats. And everybody says regression to the mean, regression because of this, and all these sabermetrics and these whatever. Well, it's happened like 4 years in a row. And so I'm trying to figure out why. He's in the top 2% of walk rate. So he doesn't walk guys at all. He gets an 87% chase rate, but only a 16% whiff rate. And I know that's a little bit nerdy, but that means everybody just swings at everything and they don't miss it because he's too close to around the zone. Even when he misses the zone, he doesn't seem like he's very far away from it. I wish he had some nasty wipeout slider, or he found something that could get hitters off balance a little bit. It looks like they're just going up there swinging because they know that they're not going to get walked, and he's not that far away. Now, the Blue Jays have not. They're one of the worst offenses in baseball, despite Vladdy Guerrero Jr. hitting the ball really hard. Everybody else is pretty much performing below expectations, and that's why they're in the spot they're in. So I'm going to take Eflin and the Rays with split juice, like you said, -115 is what I last saw. I'll take the Rays in this spot with Eflin as a pitcher that I still believe in, because I think there's somewhere in it, and I don't think it's going to happen from last start to this one, but somewhere in there, I think he's a better pitcher than Rodriguez. I think that the Rays are, we've battled kind of, are they good? Are they not good? I think they might sell, but they probably won't get too much worse from now till tomorrow. And I'll take the Rays as a slight favorite here.
Sorry, yeah, so the Rays have already sold Phil Maton to the New York Mets. So I mean, that's not a guarantee, because then they brought up some other guy that throws 100 miles an hour from the minors. I think Chris Rodriguez. So that doesn't say too much. I feel like the Rays just have so many bullpen arms because they've figured that part of the problem out. Certainly don't know how to put private investigators on their star shortstops before giving out hundreds of millions of dollars. But that's, I guess, the thing of the past. To your Eflin point, I feel like he is the veteran version of George Kirby, where I feel like a lot of people were complaining about George Kirby that he doesn't, because there's no threat to walk anybody, so you don't ever have to worry about chasing things. I don't know why that wasn't figured out with Zach Eflin. Maybe it took a Kirby solution, or just knowing about Kirby at that level, who does seem to walk guys more now than he had, at least in his first season in the major leagues. But to Zach Eflin, I mean, he's the side I want here. I don't really think I want to back the Rays as a favorite on the road, though certainly I'll be waiting and seeing if some Major League Baseball market is going to back Yadier Rodriguez, who's going to go probably 4 innings, maybe 5 maximum. And then that means a healthy dose of the Toronto bullpen, which, I mean, they are, and they have good arms in it, but it's a lost cause at this point. They're selling. Kikuchi's going to go. I think Yimi Garcia's gone, and we'll see. Vladdy would be the ultimate, like, hey, this project didn't work. And it probably means if the GM is selling Vladdy Guerrero, because I don't think Bo Bichette is healthy enough to sell on the IL again with a calf injury. But if the GM sells Vladdy, I got to say, I feel like he's also selling his job with Toronto right alongside with it. We'll move next to the Chicago White Sox visiting the Texas Rangers. Speaking of sellers, Chris Flexen on the mound for Chicago White Sox. He's probably selling his furniture and heading back to Korea or something like that. Nathan Eovaldi starting for the Texas Rangers. He's a -245 favorite, which is gigantic. Totals 8, chooses pretty much split both ways. White Sox were pretty cheap underdogs tonight with Garrett Crochet on the mound for his 4 inning starts. I don't think you can expect anything more from that going forward. This is a very different price here, though. And the Rangers are quietly kind of, I mean, they won the last game of the Baltimore series, have now won the first 2 of this White Sox series. And it seems like the rest of that division is kind of falling back towards them. Maybe if you don't have that much of an interest in this number, maybe you do. What do you think about Texas and their, I guess, future?
Yeah, I mean, let's keep the momentum going. They need to get healthier. I know Scherzer's day to day now with fatigue, only a 2 inning start, so that guy needs to come back and be the horse that he can be. I know he's getting older, so maybe he's too much to rely on that. But I bet the Rangers will buy. Also, they need bullpen help for sure. The White Sox. Fetty is pitching well too. He's definitely going to get sold. Crochet is probably going to get sold. I think they put out the rumor they were shopping him a month ago. Yep. So they're going to look a lot even worse than they this time next week. But Flexen is not going to get sold because he stinks. I mean, he's not good at all. Nobody will want him. That's exactly a White Sox player that's going to be on South Side for the rest of this year. Valdi's been in solid. This price is so big that I'm definitely not taking the Rangers, and I probably won't touch the White Sox either. For the long run, the White Sox are just going to get it worse, and let's hope the Rangers get better.
Yes, as at A Brooks Bets has a little sprinkle on the Rangers to win their division. Do the White Sox, because they might also sell Luis Robert. Do they
Yeah.
get to that 43 win threshold to not be the worst team all time?
What do they have now?
I
I
think they
know
have
it's just dead.
27.
I'm looking
Let me.
at it. I'm looking at 27. Yeah, they'll get there. They'll get. Come
They're
on, I got
27
27
and
and 76.
76. So 162 games times 26.2%. That's 42 wins. I'm gonna say under 43,
Okay, do it.
especially when they get worse,
I
which
like it. Under
I think
43.
is
They will
very
get worse.
worse. Unfortunately, we're just gonna have to skip those games because they're gonna be 300 plus
Yeah.
$300, and I'm gonna be like, please don't let me bet them. Moving two more games left on our card, then we'll get to our best bets or potentially do some more chatting in between. The Arizona Diamondbacks and Ryan Nelson are visiting Kansas City and Michael Wacha. Wacha minus 125 favorite at home. Over under is 9, just more to the over than to under. Ryan Nelson to me is impossible to figure out. I'm just going to go with I don't think he's very good. Does Kansas City minus 125 seem cheap to you?
That's funny you say that. I looked into this game. I'm not sure he's a starting pitcher. I don't know why. He's been very effective. He's been pretty effective his last 5 or 6 starts. He just throws a cutter and a fastball like 85% of the time. So he's just going up there like Mariano Rivera. He's trying
Slight
to get
difference.
length out of it. Um, it's been working. Walker's been solid for a couple years. He's kind of maxed out at 120 innings a year, but he battling injuries and whatever. I remember when Michael Walker was first coming on the scene with the Cardinals in the World
Yep.
Series against the Red
Yep.
Sox. He went to
Yep.
Texas A&M,
Yeah.
who
F him.
is a
Yeah.
rival of Scriven and I's alma mater. So I didn't really like him coming up, but when we got to the big leagues, he was impressive. I thought he might be the next big time stud. Well, he's 34 years old or 32 years old, I think now, and he's been pitching okay. He's solid for them. That's what the Royals need. They need guys who can pitch some good solid innings for them. I'm gonna lean under 9 here.
Okay.
Yeah, under 9. I know it's a later game, so maybe there isn't as many getaway day sits. Hopefully, there's maybe 1 or 2 stars, and they sit in the lineup. Who knows on Wednesdays when you go into Thursdays, and then half the teams have off days and half of them don't. So you're kind of looking for whatever the clipboard says on this guy's rest. Maybe they're all wearing the Whoop bands or whatever. No free ads or whatever those fitness watch things are that tell you how good you sleep.
We don't even know the company name, or else they
We
pay
don't
us.
even know the company
Yeah.
name.
Right.
But with Nelson kind of in good form right now, and Waka being pretty solid, and the Arizona offense I haven't been too extremely impressed with. Corbin Carroll kind of fell off, especially in the power department. Christian Walker was an all-star snub, but that's neither here nor there. He's their best hitter right now. Pasquantino and Witt and Salvador Perez on the other side. They need a little bit more depth in that lineup too. I do think they'll be buying, hopefully in the bullpen, maybe another slugger, maybe or somebody in there to try to help them out. But for this game, I'm gonna go bet under 9.
Okay. So the Arizona Diamondbacks, I think part of out of nowhere, they had an incredible start to last season. Were favored, or were leading the NL West. Were not favored to win the division. The Dodgers still were at the All-Star break last year. Then they went on an incredible drop, collapse, whatever you want to call it, and then had an incredible playoff run. So they pretty much are basically like the Denver skyline. A lot of jagged edges in their mountains going up and then down, valleys and peaks and valleys, all that sort of stuff. This season, apparently Corbin Carroll is trying to hit home runs and went in and tried to redesign his game to get the lift on his and become that silver slugger that he wanted to be. He needs to redesign and go back to slap hitting because I think that's important. But I haven't seen it from when I've watched him. Surprisingly, Arizona is all offense and just a really, really bad pitching staff. Despite Justin Martinez, I think leading the league in pitches over 100 miles an hour. Lot of concerns for me with Arizona, though they've gotten a lot of respect in the marketplace. I've kind of fallen for that trap a few times, betting against them and then just getting absolutely demolished and wondering what the heck happened as Gino Suarez is hitting a ball out of the Arizona stadium. It felt like a couple times. Um, I think Waka, and with how well the Royals have played, plus that incredibly important just one arm, but still a very important one to add to their bullpen. I think it's enough to get me off of being too concerned with Kansas City's bullpen. They've been awesome at home. I'll take Kansas City minus 125 on Wednesday evening. Last game on our list. And then we'll get to best bets with a little bit in between. Got the San Francisco Giants, Robbie Ray and his tight pants coming off the IL, his first start in what feels like, I think, since first opening day start of last season, 2023, now is back for San Francisco, new organization, and he's visiting the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow coming off one of those, I think, phantom IL stints that was back, I guess, was a little bit tight. Glasnow minus 190, 190 favorite right now, 174 coming back on San Francisco. Total is 8, juice more to the under. Do you see an upset brewing? Because the Giants need a win here to try to hang around in this race and not sell.
Yeah, so both of you and I have been talking about off an IL stint fading the starting pitcher. They're both coming off the IL here. You just mentioned a phantom IL for Glasnow, which may be true. He skipped one start, I think, with the All-Star break in between and things like that. So you kind of get 2 weeks off. You know how that works. When Christmas falls on a Thursday, you take Friday off. That way you get Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It's kind of like one of those things a lot of these teams are doing. Obviously, the Dodgers are going to be there in October. So that's when they really want him. And you're probably right. Maybe it wasn't tight. Maybe it was. Lower back soreness seems to be like a blanket thing. It's a little bit. My favorite one was when Greg Popovich just back when the NBA made you put a reason out for Tim Duncan and he put old. Like that was pretty good. He's out today because old.
Another good one is Tom Brady being questionable on every
right
injury report until they outlawed they only have questionable tags. They don't have probable or doubtful anymore. Thank you, Roger Goodell. What an incredible move that was, just to really kill our fantasy.
Questionable
sports.
Right shoulder for like 6 years.
Yeah. Maybe he'll throw a lefty today. Yeah, go ahead.
But this is interesting. So Robbie Ray, rehab stats. Everybody was interested. At least I was. This is a guy who struck out a ton of guys his entire career and walked way too many at the beginning. Yeah. Kind of figured it out and either won a Cy Young or got really close.
I think one.
In the minors, he struck out 45 and only walked 6 in 29 innings. So obviously, and that's in the Pacific Coast League. Playing in Reno and playing in Salt Lake City and playing in places like that. Obviously, striking out batters is good, but that's interesting to me. He's obviously had 29 innings at AAA, 45 strikeouts in those 29 innings and only 6 walks. They say the control is kind of the last thing to come back after Tommy John. Was it Tommy John for him, right? Or is it Tommy John, right?
No, yes, yep.
Yeah, and then and Glasnow's been elite when he's pitched. So I might lean under here. There's a massive price kind of on the Dodgers here, so I would also lean Giants. I don't love that, given the argument we just made for Glasnow's injury being fake. But if you do think that his back is stiff and he's kind of trying to get over something real, I'd lean Giants.
Yeah, so I'm with you leaning Giants. I think maybe you could look at run line plus 1.5, only minus 130 right now, as I was a victim of the Giants' 2 center fielders, one in left field, one in center, deciding that neither wanted to call the ball last night. Let a ball drop in the 8th, and Teoscar Hernandez knocked in all 3 runs, a second 2-out single to basically take the lead in the 8th inning, and that was all she wrote. I think so. To correct you, Robbie Ray has not been pitching only at AAA. He's been at rookie ball, A ball, and then AAA as well. Right. His last 10 2/3 innings have come in AAA ball, and he had 12 strikeouts in 10.2 innings. So that's saying something, and that was in the PCL, as you said. I'm not sure where to go with this one, really. I think the price is big. I'll probably go under 8, if anything, though I think the Dodgers have real bullpen issues. That's the easiest thing to fix in the trade market. But it looked really grim going into the break. And then their Red Sox series was just like who wanted to lose more, it felt like late. I think since we're coming to the end of the show, we've done 9 games. It's time for our best bets before we get into that. Please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Also, it'd be helpful if you want to give us some direction where you want our next show, which will be the night of the trade deadline. And we could give some ideas on where we think teams have gone, where they should go, all that sort of stuff, and give you some best bets end of show. Or if you want us to stick with it as we always do and go through the games that are lined and available, happy to do that. Though there might be a lot of movement, and that might mean we have even less lines to talk about on next Tuesday night's show, which might make that decision for us. But 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify are huge for the search rankings. Look up Betting the Pitch wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, you can follow us on at @the_real_G Warner for a 1-minute version in a reel, or at @the_real_G Warner on YouTube for a YouTube short if you want 1 minute instead of 40 minutes. But I'm sure you want the jokes. So at A Brooks Bets, you've been super hot lately. 8-0 in your last 8, or 9 in your last 9? 8-0 in your last 8.
8-0. 8-0 in the last 8.
All right, give us your 9th win in a row.
All right, so something just came out. I'm not gonna make my official bet, but Montas against Winans, the Reds and the Braves. Yes. That's an 8.5 line. I'll be looking for the over there. It won't be my best bet, but I want to throw it in for the people. Over 8.5.
Thank you.
My best bet is going to be the Diamondbacks and Royals under 9. I like both of these pitchers and what they've been doing their last 50 plate appearances against, or the last 100 plate appearances against. They've both been kind of trending in a good direction. I think both of these offenses are they're not as scary as some of the other, good teams in the league. I mean, I like what the Royals are doing. I do kind of lean that the Royals might win this game, which means that there'll be half an inning less. Yep. So I'm going to bet under 9 for my best bet at KC. Arizona at KC under 9.
So this is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is Betting the Pitch, the 1-minute Instagram reel or YouTube short. At A Brooks Bets just gave you his best bet. He's won 8 straight. He's looking for his 9th in a row. Our podcast together, 14-2 last 16. So we've been killing it. Only looking for more of that the rest of the season. We'll be with you next Tuesday night for Wednesday's baseball card, discussing the trade deadline and anything else you'd like us to talk about. Go throw a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify and give us a direction on where you want us to go. And we listen to the people. So make sure you grab at A Brooks Bets, Kansas City Royals, Arizona Diamondbacks under 9 runs on Wednesday, July 24th. For my best bet, the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube, I'm going to go with a little bit different than probably anyone's expecting. I've faded the Toronto Blue Jays every game they've played since the All-Star break. I see no reason at 3-1 right now to stop doing that. So I'll go Tampa Bay -113 on the road, grab Kansas City Royals under 9, and that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch. And that'll do it for this episode. As I just said, thank you all for the support, and we will talk to you all next week on the next episode. Hopefully Andrew Brooks will be 9-0 on this on an incredible run. Looking forward to it.
All right.